You've probably heard a number of legal defenses, right? Self-defense, defense of others, provocation, double jeopardy. Well, what about not guilty by reason of demonic possession? Arne Cheyenne Johnson and Debbie Glatzel obtained a lease on a rental property in Connecticut. They went to the property to get it cleaned up, and they would say that David Glatzel, 12 at the time, and Debbie's brother, told them that an old man suddenly appeared in the room with him, pushed him, and he was terrified. Arne and Debbie put this off to David not wanting to help with cleaning up. He was adamant, though, that the old man would hurt them if they moved into the rental home, that he was seeing a beast threatening him and speaking Latin. Eventually, David was experiencing night terrors, acted strangely, and ended up with bruises and scratches. His family first called a Catholic priest to come bless the house. Then they called Ed and Lorraine Warren, demonologists, to help them. They said David had multiple possessions, more than 40 of them, and he was given 3 different exorcisms. The Warrens even called police in Brooksfield to warn them that the situation in the Glatzel home was becoming dangerous, or so they said. So apparently during one of these exorcisms, Arne starts to demand that the demon possess him instead of David. At some point, Johnson said his last lucid memory of the demon was seeing him at a well. He says at that point, the demon possessed him. It was at some point after this that Johnson and Glatzel moved from the original rental property to one closer to her work. Her boss was also their new landlord, Alan Bono. At this apartment, Johnson's behaving strangely, and Glatzel said he would go into a trance, growl, and have hallucinations. On February 16, 1981, Johnson says he called in sick and went to the kennel where Glatzel worked. Also there was his sister Wanda, Alan Bono, and Glatzel's 9-year-old cousin Mary. Bono buys everybody lunch, and he's drinking pretty heavily. Sometime later in the afternoon, Glatzel took the females to go get pizza, and when they got back, Bono was agitated and really intoxicated. Allegedly, Bono grabbed Mary and refused to let go. And that's when Johnson becomes involved. Mary runs for the car while Glatzel gets in between Johnson and Bono. Wanda tried to pull Johnson away, but he was apparently growling. Johnson then pulls out a pocket knife and stabs Bono over and over, and Bono would die several hours later. Johnson was found by police claiming to have no memory of what happened. He also told police, "I need help because I have a drinking problem." And police would say he only became incoherent when he was told that Bono died. He was otherwise just fine. Lorraine Warren would tell police that Johnson was possessed, and the media circus began, which the Warrens kept feeding and feeding. Johnson's defense lawyer, as part of this, decides to try to make up demonic possession as a defense in the U.S. He subpoenaed the priests who did the exorcisms on David and sought to have exorcism specialists testify. And yet, when he tries to enter a guilty plea, or a not guilty plea by reason of demonic possession, the judge wasn't having it. And the lawyer knew that would be the case. So without putting up much of an argument at all, they went with self-defense instead, and there would be none of the promised testimony about demonic possession. It sounded good for the media, though, and the Warrens certainly profited from the publicity. The jury would come back with a guilty verdict to manslaughter. Johnson would be sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison, and he served just under 5 before he was paroled. Johnson still claims that he was possessed and that the Warrens' version of events was true. However, another Glatzel brother would sue, saying that the occult claims were a phony story made for others to get rich and famous at the family's expense, and the Warrens would just encourage their behavior. Carl would expose what others would also say about the Warrens in different cases. And in the 70s and 80s, what you need to understand is the U.S. was going through something that sociologists would call satanic panic. From Amityville, which the Warrens were also involved in, to the attempt to persuade the media that the devil made Arne Johnson do it. The fear that demons were just running amok and causing mayhem was mostly fueled by the Warrens. For profit. Keeping media attention on them, using families. Well, that made the Warrens money. It sold their books. It excited their agents. And that's right, they had agents who would seek out book and film deals for their stories. They claimed to have shared $2,000 with the Glatzel family for this story, while reaping far more for themselves. Greed was the real devil here, and in all of the other Warren stories all along. We'll talk more about the Warrens. We're not quite done with them yet. But in the meantime, don't believe everything you read, and when a movie tells you it's based on true events, put your skeptical hat on before you believe it. Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying these videos and want more, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any videos. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.